y'all, welcome back to another episode of the Late Night Vision Show. This is episode 281, and we are glad and very happy to be able to bring this episode to you. And we are going to be talking about some thermal scopes, some thermal scope options, kind of similar to what we did in episode 280. If you didn't see it, go check it out. We were talking about thermal for the coyote season about to start. Thermal setups, and that would be combinations of scopes and monoculars, and the budget being $5,000. We're going to be doing something very similar to that this week, but for all you hog hunters, to help me introduce the show, the owner of Outdoor Legacy, Jason Robertson. We're about ready to kick this show off. How you doing?
I thought you were going right on into the list. You never know. Forgot that I was over here, but that's all right.
You know, from the comments I hear, people, they want to hear me talk a little bit more, kind of take the mic back over. So I've got to get my words in whenever I can, you know.
That's probably true. The fans have probably spoken. No. Glad to be back. Last week's show, I'm not going to lie to you. It's one of those shows where it was Hans's idea. I'm going to give him the credit.
You need to be honest with it. You need to be honest. You were surprised that it did as well as it did.
I know. Hold on. I was fixing to compliment you. And here you go. Good. Taking away. Gosh, see, I shouldn't even do it now. So what I was about to say was last week, the show was Hans's idea. It was literally something, his brainchild, he came up with. I thought it was a good idea.
Not all my idea.
And I was like, okay. I don't know if it's going to work, but I was like, I'm going to give you the credit, whether it's a dive, into the bottom or it's good. And we had the response was big. We were getting text messages on Thursday morning from 2 or 3 people saying, hey man, really love the format of this. Great show. Some of our friends, some of the people that work with us were like, oh, okay. And then the comments are really good. So I'm going to give him the credit. I was skeptical. So we're going to try this. We're going to see how this works. Do the exact same format, but do it for hog hunters. So going ahead
go ahead. We got to give Ashley a little credit because part of it was a topic that he heard from a customer of ours. And you know what? You figure it worked well last week. We might as well ride this horse until it drops over and dies, right?
Well, so listen, we don't want to bore y'all with this, but we do have some plans, and we're not going to do all these right now. Don't worry. There's not going to be 10 of these in a row or anything. But the thought is there are a lot of people that are looking to get into night hunting, and maybe they've already got a setup, but maybe they're like, I want to start fresh. I want a new scope. I want a handheld, and I don't know exactly what I should get, but I've got XYZ budget, and I know I want a handheld and a scope. And so that was the idea. And when we chose $5,000, because I know it's a lot of money, but that's a common number that we hear a lot. Hey man, I can spend about $5,000. I think I want a handheld and a scope. What do I get? And so we're going to do the exact same thing this week for hog hunters. And I know there's a lot of guys that go ahead.
And real quick, if somebody says their budget's $3,000 or $4,000, that's great. That's still a lot of money, but you're into just the one optic realm right there instead of 2. So, this being the combination of a monocular and scope, which, is more ideal for hunting. So that's kind of the thought behind the $5,000 budget.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up. So, and listen, we're not saying that number one, you can't get into this with just a thermal rifle scope. Absolutely you can. No question about it. You can get into this, as you're going to see some of these scopes here, you can get into thermal hog hunting for under $2,000. Okay, so the budget can be less than it ever has been. But when you want to get into it with a handheld and a scope at once, I'm going to look at this list real quick, and I'm going to say 19.3. It's still going to take you, I'm doing the math, a little over $3,000 to get into it. That's still crazy cheap. To $3,000 to have the handheld on our budget, on the bottom of the budget, and the scope. That's nuts, because a few years ago you couldn't get a scope for $3,000. So it's exciting. So we're going to roll into this. A couple quick disclaimers. I think Hans has got one. Mine is, you're going to hear this and you're going to say either, I've already got a scope and y'all helped me pick it out, or somebody else did and it's not in this list and it doesn't fit into your criteria. Do I have the wrong scope? or why did you tell me to buy this scope? Or this all sounds great, but man, I was really looking at XYZ scope and it's not on your list. It's got a little more magnification, or there's something different about it, or it's more money or whatever. That's perfectly fine. We are giving our criteria. We'll say it right here. We've got to stay within again, a total combined budget of $5,000. We're setting that criteria. We'll probably do another one of these shows down the road for maybe a $6,000-$7,000 budget. So we're putting constraints on ourselves, and we're to be a scope in this list. You cannot have over a 2.5 power base magnification, optical magnification. And our reason for that is most hog hunters, not all, most, if you're going to be doing spotting and stalking and getting up close, you're going to want that wider field of view, the lower magnification. That's just generally speaking where hog hunters want to be. Now, we know that we sell a lot of hog hunters 3-power optics. We sure do. I was talking to a guy yesterday and talking to him, and from what he told me about hunting over a feeder, 80 or 100 yards, the guy needs a 3-power scope. I mean, that's what I was encouraging him for shooting hogs. But again, that's a little bit different than the normal spot, stalk, close range type of stuff. So that's what we're going to focus on here. And if you're outside of those parameters, you can call us and we will be glad to hear a little more about your situation and make specific recommendations.
So what we're going to do, and I appreciate that, and also want to remind people, 6 months, this list could completely change. And it probably is going to be completely changed, but there's going to be things off of it, not on there anymore. There's going to be stuff added to it. So we will find out. And that's why we do the end of the year shows with the manufacturer interviews to let y'all know what's coming out soon that they can talk about at SHOT Show 2024. Also, there's a lot of people that call in and they say, you know, I've got a budget of XYZ. Should I get a nice scope? Should I get a monocular and a night vision scope? What should I do? We're operating in this show and the previous show under the premise that 2 optics are better than 1. That's something that Jason and I believe in wholeheartedly. If you have a $5,000 budget, we would definitely recommend don't just go out and buy a $5,000 scope. Get you a good monocular and a good scope, and that's why we do this show. You might get a nice scope, but later on down the road, you're gonna say at some point, whether it's 6 months down the road or even sooner, I need a monocular. I can't scan with my scope all night long. So just wanted to throw that out. You know, Jason, before we get into it, I was surprised. I thought that there was going to be a lot of crossover between the coyote hunting show and the hog hunting show. And just, you know, a little bit, but there's a lot of, there's some on here on these optics that are the same, but there's also some that are completely different. There's some new optics that we didn't talk about last week. So this is a good list. Now, I'm going to go over the monoculars. Jason's going to go over the scopes. And our criteria for choosing, or my criteria for choosing a monocular that is considered good for hog hunting, really there's 2 criteria that I kept it under, really. No more than 2.5 base magnification for a scanner. Most people want to be at 2, at the high end 2.5 for a scanner. Again, when you're scanning side to side, you want a big, wide field of view. That way you can cover a lot of ground when you're scanning side to side. You know, if you get too narrow of a field of view or too high of a base magnification on a monocular, it really makes it difficult. You're going to miss some coyotes or hogs that are running in from the side of you. It's just not ideal. 2.5 power for a monocular is better. And also because of our $5,000 budget, we had to keep the price of this monocular under $3,000. So that there's a lot of good monoculars. So let's jump into it real quick. All right, leading the charge, we're going to break this down by manufacturer. This not in any order of price, or this is definitely not in order of the best or our favorite. We're just going to group it by manufacturer. So we're going to start out with the AGM product. So you got the AGM Taipan TM15-384. This is the new price of this optic. And, you know, it's been they did a price reduction on it. Is $1,195, and it is a 1.5 power base magnification. Also, Jason and I do not recommend hunting really with anything under 384 resolution.
Correct.
So there's a lot of you that say, what about the 256? 256 stuff is fine, but not ideal for hunting. Really, if you're trying to scan, if you're trying to see hogs, the 256 is for really very close range. But yeah, 384 and higher is what we're focused on. You got the AGM Taipan TM19-384. That is the price on that's $1,395. That's a 1.9 power base magnification. You got the AGM Taipan TM25-384. That's the price on that's $1,595. That's a 2.5 base magnification. If you can see, these model numbers reflect the magnification. You got TM19 1.5 power, TM15 1.5 power, TM19 1.9, and so on. Then you've got the AGM Sidewinders. Those are probably some of the newest monoculars on the list. You got the Sidewinder TM25-384. The price on that's $1,995. That's a 2-power base magnification. And the great thing about the monoculars and our list and what we're focused on, we've got our first 640 resolution optic on the list. We've got the AGM Sidewinder TM35-640 for $29.95, and that is a 2x base magnification. So that is fantastic for $3,000. It's still, Jason's going to go over the specs of the scopes, but that does, you can make that work where you can get that 640 monocular and still get within your $5,000 budget.
Yep.
Moving on to Pulsar. We got the Pulsar Axion 2 XQ35 Pro. Price on that is $1,999. That's a 2x base magnification. Yes, there is another Axion model below this that we talked about last week, but that's a 3-power. So again, we're focused on 2.5 power and under.
I'm glad you said that. I was literally like, man, he left that XM30.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I was making notes over here. I was fixing to call you. I was
sure.
like, I got to mention this. Yeah, I forgot that was a 3-power. All right, you're
so yeah.
No docking your pay, man.
Oh, good. You got the Pulsar Axion 2 XQ35 LRF Pro. So basically the same as the previous model, but with a laser rangefinder. Price on that's $2,499. That's a 2x base magnification. And then the last one, again, we get to jump up to 640 resolution. The Pulsar Axion 2 XG35, $2,999. Magnification level on that is 2.5x. So we've got two 640 binoculars on the list. It's fantastic. Two great optics. And then we've got Infrared Outdoor, brought to you by iRay USA. We got the Cabin CBL 19-384. Price on that's $1,799. That's a 2x base magnification. And then you got its big brother, the Cabin CBL 25-384. That's $2,099. That's a 2.5x base magnification. So you've got prices, Jason, that range from just under $1,200 all the way up to $3,000. Yep. 384 resolution and 640 resolution with a lot of features in between. There's a lot of choices, a lot of great choices. What did I screw up and what did I leave
You
off?
didn't screw up anything. Here's what I'm going to say.
Okay.
I'm going to say two things here before I get into the scopes. One, there's 10 optics, handhelds on this list, and that's amazing. There's so many great options. This, and again, I know Hans and I always talk about the old days because we've been doing this so long, and I don't want to be like two old men, but it really is like,
the gray on my face will agree with you.
Yeah, we walked uphill, both ways in the snow, carrying a bucket of water. I mean, we were the guys out there with, and this is true, we were the guys with mag lights duct taped to our shotguns and rifles. So we're that old. But
before tripod was even, people even knew what that was and were using them. Really,
we're old timers. But I'm telling you guys, it's just amazing in the 10 years I've been doing this to just see how many more affordable and just options there are. So this is a big list. Now I'm going to read you the list of the scopes, and it's probably dadgummit. There may be 10, 12 scopes on here, which is crazy. But I want to say a couple things. One, the first thing is, and we said this last week, we're going to say this every time we do one of these shows. You're hearing this big list and you're like, I don't know. What does this mean? Which ones? I don't know where to choose. You got a $3,000 monocular, $1,200 monocular. Guys, that's what we're here for. We at Outdoor Legacy, this is what Hans and I do for a living. Our salesman, Ashley, that works with us, this is what we do. We test and we use every single optic that we sell in the field, period. That's what we do. And we are more than happy for you to call us on the phone. And I think Hans has probably got the phone number up there, 877-350-1818. And we want you to call us. We will be glad for you to tell us what you're doing, what your budget is. And your budget may be way below this. You may say, I only got $2,000. I can't get, fine. We're going to find you something that will fit. If it's a digital scope for $500 or if it's a budget that's way bigger than that, anywhere in between. And yep. We are happy to talk to you, happy to sort this down. And we will not force you to hear about every single optic on this list because we're going to ask specific questions. We know what to ask. Yeah. We're going to say, what are you doing? How you doing? Ask all this. And in about 2 or 3 minutes in our mind, we're going to have this number down to 2 or 3 handhelds, 2 or 3 scopes, and we can go through that list. Go ahead.
Yeah. I want to say something real quick. You're right. This is not, you take this and you choose something off this list and be like, oh, Hans and Jason said to get this. So we get a lot of people that call in and say, I don't even know where to start.
Correct.
This is how much I have to spend. You know what? This show, this is where you start. This is kind of the roadmap. You say, okay, this is my choice of monoculars. And you start doing research. Hey, this is what I like about this. This is what I like about that. But this is a place for you to start to help narrow down the search so you're not spinning your wheels looking at things that aren't right for you, aren't in your budget, don't make sense. And it really, we're trying to take a lot of the guesswork out of it, but this is a good starting point for all these monoculars and scopes. When you call in and say, hey, I had a guy last week, I saw your show on coyote hunters. I looked at the list. This is kind of what I like. This is what I want. Mm-hmm. I mean, it helped a lot. So yeah, this is kind of the starting point for all this. And that's the purpose of the show.
Yeah, it is. And I talked about this last week and I'll mention this here. You look at this big list of monoculars and you may say right offhand, man, I want a 640. I want this. Well, okay, guess what? You got a couple on this list. So you can narrow that down real quick. Or you may say, I want a laser rangefinder on my handheld. Boom, you got a couple options there. And so you may say, I want something that's small, lightweight, simple. I don't want a bunch of batteries I got to carry with me. Well, you got some optics right here that have internal built-in batteries. Just plug them in, charge them. Maybe you don't want that. We've got optics here that take proprietary batteries that have very long battery life. We got optics that take 18650s. So there's a bunch of different options. And again, I don't want y'all to get overwhelmed. We're just trying to give you a starting place, and maybe you can look at that and go, oh, I know I don't want that, or oh, I don't want that, but I do want this. We're glad to help you. Give us a call. We would love to have your business, and I just wanted to mention that up front. So now let's roll into these scopes. All right. So the criteria for these scopes, again, this is looking towards hog hunters. So no more than a 2.5 power base magnification. And we're going to have to keep the price under $3,800 because we go to our least expensive monocular, and that's $1,200. So that equals $5,000. So you see what we're doing there to try to keep that in the budget. So that's kind of where we're at here, 2.5 power and under. And as I already mentioned, 2.5 power may not be what you need for hog hunting. We'll be glad to, give you some other options if you call us and kind of explain what you're doing. But here we go. Starting, same thing, no particular order. We're going to go by brand. Sightmark. They are the newest company on the list. Sightmark's been around a long time selling digital night vision optics, but they have jumped into the thermal game with the Sightmark Wraith Mini Thermal. And that unit is a 2-power base magnification, and it's $1,999, $2,000. Next, we've got the AGM Rattler. It's the TS25 384. That is a 1.5 power. It's had a price reduction, and it is now at $1,895. We've got the AGM Rattler TS35 384. That is a 2.2 power. Again, a price reduction. It's now at $2,095. So those two optics are essentially the same scope, same body, same everything. You couldn't tell them apart just sitting them on the table looking at them, but it's the different magnification, 1.5 and 2.5 power, or 2.2 power, I should say. So you got a couple options there. AGM also has the Rattler TS35 640, $3,495 for a 2-power 640. So guys, see what's happening here. Just like the handhelds, you now have in this price range the option of buying a 640 thermal scope for, you know, well under 5,000, but you can still get a handheld. So it's guys, these are good times.
And a full featured 640 scope. I mean, rechargeable batteries, recording video,
video recording,
everything.
Wi-Fi streaming, picture-in-picture, comes with an American Defense mount. I mean, there's full featured. Exactly. Moving on, they've got the AGM adder. That's going to be the tube style. Looks like a 30 millimeter tube. TS35 640. That's $36.95. It's a 2-power base magnification as well. Moving on, go to Bearing Optics. You've got the Bearing Optics Hogster Vibe 25. It is a 1.4 power, and it's $22.95. We've got the Bearing Optics Hogster. These are long names. Vibe 35. That's a 2-power.
Like you said, Hobster.
I think I did. It's close. Hobster. Yeah. It's a 2-power. It's $24.95. Then another 640. We've got the Bearing Optics Super Yoder 25. That is a very low magnification, super wide field of view, 1.5 power base mag for $34.95. Then again, 640. From there, we've got the Super Yoder hang on. My notes are wrong here. Super Yoder 35. That is a 2-power 640 for $37.95. So again, we're talking about 4 bearings, 2 of those being 640. Moving to Pulsar. All right, we've got the Talion XQ35 Pro 2.5 power base mag for $24.95. We've got the Pulsar Thermion 2 XQ35. That is also going to be in your, tube style, 30 millimeter tube style. Scope $29.99 for a 2.5 power base mag. And then we've got the Talion XG35, if you can believe it, another 640 scope. It is a 2-power base mag, and right now, as we record this, there has been a sale going, or there is a sale going on it for $34.99. And guys, I want to say something real quick. All these prices, from the Monoculars to the rifle scopes, we're recording this in the middle of September 2023. These prices could be different when you're watching this. They could be higher. Some of these optics like this are on sale. They could be lower. There could be price reductions. There may be a sale going on then. Again, just like anything else, the prices are subject to change at any time, but we want to tell you what they are today. So what's going on right now. Now I'm going to mention a couple other scopes, and I should not do this. This is against everything in me because it does not fit into our criteria. But Hans and I talked about this, and I'm just, they're so close. We're going to mention them. I think this is a mistake because I think it's going to lead as we do more of these shows. We're going to go, ooh, what about this? If you spend a little more money, we said $3,800, but if you spend $4,200 more dollars, you can get the AGM Rattler TS50 640 2.5 power, $39.95. And then you know how this goes, Hans. You nickel and you dime yourself. And if you go on up, $41.95, you can get the AGM Adder TS50 640. That's a 2.5 power. I mean, guys, it really does.
Yeah.
It busts the budget up just a little bit. But that's why you need to call us, because we're setting artificial restrictions. Most guys that call, they may say, I've got a $5,000 budget. doesn't mean they really want to spend $5,000. You know, they're like, really rather spend 45. No problem. We can work with that. Or we may say $5,000 budget, but you know, if I got to spend 52, that's okay. So, you know, we understand there's a little wiggle room in there. And again, we're setting these artificial limits on ourselves here for the show. So as you can see, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 thermal rifle scopes that fit into the $3,800 or under, with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those, 5 of the 12 being 640 high resolution scopes. Guys, that's crazy. I mean, that's just times are changing, and these are big list.
People might wonder why the list of coyote hunting thermal combos didn't have 640s on the list. Not that I remember. And really, it's because magnification. Our criteria for scopes was 3,000 or 3x base magnification and higher. So more magnification typically is going to bring more money.
That's right.
And more money for the thermal. So that's why there wasn't. I didn't think we had any 640s on the list last week, did we? I don't think so.
Not in scopes. No. So I do want to mention one more thing, because somebody's going to look at this and ask. There are no IRA USA distributed scopes on this list. We have the Infrared Outdoor, a couple of their Monoculars, but there's no scopes. That is not because we don't love our buddies over at IRA USA. Not at all. They do not have an optic that is under 3 power that fits into this price range. So that's it. That's nothing against them. Yeah. Their standard base magnification for most of their optics is 3 power. And so that's it. So nothing against them at all. You know, you get up into some of the higher price points, they do have some lower magnification optics, but not right here. So that is why we weren't intentionally leaving them out. So Hans, we got this big list. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah. And I think the trend now is that magnifications are creeping up over the years. And that's, I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. I think they shot up at some point a little bit too high, and then I think they came back down. But 3 power is an appropriate magnification level for hog and coyote hunting. So there's a lot of crossover in there. 2.5, 3, you can, kind of get away with both depending on what you're doing. But, this list really is more exciting to me than the last week's coyote hunting list, just because of the fact of we're getting into the 640 resolution stuff with this budget at this magnification levels. You got the sidewinders in there that are fantastic. You got the you got the Talion Pulsar Talion scopes, with the XG35, that's a 640 resolution, fantastic scope. There's you got the adders in there with the scopes, you got the Axion, Pulsar Axion. So this is a fantastic $5,000, y'all. If you're a hog hunter and you said, I need 2 optics, I got $5,000. You got some dang good choices. There's a lot of good options on this list.
Well, I think that, there really is. There's too many options. And again, if you called us, I can see guys right now, eyes glazed over, going, oh my gosh, I don't even want to call them because I don't want to talk about all these. We're going to rule out 3/4 of everything on the list in the first 30 seconds of talking to you.
Right.
I mean, we're not even going to mention these because there's such a big difference in some of these optics. So we know, again, what questions to ask to kind of get you narrowed down. The other thing I would say is if you are listening to this and you say, okay, well, I want a really, really good scope. And the scope that I want or I've been thinking about is not on this list. And so the problem is that y'all are saying I need to get a handheld and a scope at the same time. But there's exceptions. First of all, at the end of the day, you do what you want to do. You don't have to take our advice on that. We do think that if you hunt very much, you're going to, we know that you will benefit from a handheld, but we think you're going to want one. We think you're going to wish you had one. But I also talk to a lot of guys that say, listen, I can't spend all this money at one time, but what I don't want to do is buy a scope and a handheld and then feel like I kind of outgrow or move past that scope. After my first season, I'm really never going to be happy. I wanted something better to begin with. That's okay too. then go ahead, spend your whatever that is, $4,000, $5,000 more on your scope, and just know in the back of your mind, I need to be budgeting. I need to be, picking up beer cans on the side of the road and crushing them and selling them for scrap. I need to be saving up to buy a handheld down the road. And so that's what, it's what I'm going to do. And so there's nothing wrong with that. We don't want to say like, you're dumb if you just buy your scope first. No, everybody's in a different position. You may not hunt enough to need the handheld, and that's fine too. But I just wanted to say, if you go into this saying, you know what, I know I'm going to want a handheld, but I want a really good scope, I'll go with the scope, and then I'll, start saving up and maybe next season get a hand. That's fine too.
So,
I don't want anybody to feel like that we're pressuring people into, you have to split your budget up, because you don't. It's your money. But we do think that there's a lot of guys that say, I want to be one and done. I don't want to spend money now. I don't want to spend money then next season and then next. I want to get a good setup that I can be happy with for several years, do well with, and I think you can absolutely make some outstanding combinations of scope handheld combos on this list that will do you really well for years to come.
Do people still crush cans for money these days? I mean,
I knew.
That seems a little extreme.
Everything
I remember when I was a kid, we did.
That's all you could think about the whole time was picking up Coke cans.
Absolutely. So when I was a kid, we had two trash cans. We had one for just regular trash, and we had one for cans.
Yep.
And we even had a can crusher that you step on, crush the can.
We did
and put it
too.
in the
His name was Jason.
Jason, yeah. And we collected cans and we'd go recycle them and stuff. But anyway, so we are we're going to wrap it up. I think we've given all the information. Jason, let's do this as we always say. Call us 877-350-1818, outdoorlegacygear.com. Y'all say it in all the videos. You can pause this video right now, and if it's between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. on a weekday, you can call and talk to one of the people on this show,
Texas
Central Time. One of the people on this show, you can talk to Ashley, who our other salesman who's answering the phone right now, probably covering some of the phones while we're doing this a little bit earlier than normal. But again, call us. We'd love to talk to you. We'd love to talk you through this. Thank you for joining us. We have a lot of past episodes, y'all, 280 past episodes that can be found on our website, thelatenightVisionShow.com. If you're looking for a specific show, if you want to, learn about a scope that was released, review, just go on YouTube or even Google, but you can go on YouTube, search The Late Night Vision Show, and put in the scope that you want to learn about. That's probably the easiest way to find it. Thanks for joining us on all the other audio-only podcast versions, whether it's iTunes or Google Play or Apple or whatever it is that you're listening to, but we really appreciate it. Go find Jason on YouTube and on Facebook, on Instagram, Outdoor Legacy. You can find me over on all of those platforms, Hans ETX, where you can find more reviews, some content. We show a lot of. I know we're putting out some more content on the Late Night Vision Show YouTube with some of the shorts, the YouTube shorts. We kind of see the platform going to that shorter format style like all the other social media companies seem to be going to. So we're trying to put out more information and more content there. Ashley Rowe, you can find him on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, Rowe, ROWEETX. And I do not think I left anything out, Jason, but go ahead.
I don't think you did either. So guys, hope you enjoyed this. We will be doing some more of these episodes. We do have some reviews coming up. I think we're going to be talking about the new Pulsar Telos XP50 thermal handheld monocular. We've got one of
and
those units.
If people saw the 2 Minute Tuesday this week, they know that you got one in your office right now.
Got one. Yeah. Been out testing that, getting some footage out of it. And the good thing about that is we've had that unit in our hands before. Had a pre-production unit, so we're very familiar with it, but just out collecting some videos. We'll be doing a review of it soon. They are not in full production shipping yet. Should be sometime in mid to late October. So I know a lot of guys are waiting on those. But anyway, we're out testing everything we can. We've got a couple other, I think, review shows that are just some, I don't want to give it away yet, but it was some things we've been working on. So we're excited about it. Guys, we hope you enjoyed this, and just keep coming back here for all the latest information in night vision and thermal optics and night hunting. We want to be your source for all that info and maybe even a little bit of entertainment sometimes. So, guys, between
Sometimes.
now and next week, y'all stay safe in the fields and keep making those bacon pancakes.